Well, let's go back 48 hours. 48 hours ago, it seems like another world. For reporters who covered the campaign and followed the candidates, the outcome of the election on Tuesday, it still seems surreal. And we're going to talk to our U.S. campaign reporters in just a moment about what they witnessed. But first, we want to show you how it all began on election night when the first polling places closed and our special election coverage went live. Tonight, the world is holding its breath as Americans elect a new president.
Will it be Republican Donald Trump or Democrat Hillary Clinton?
Our political correspondents are at the Trump and Clinton parties in New York.
Is the United States getting his first female president? I'm Ines, Pohl, and I'm with the Hillary Clinton's campaign party in New York, where history could happen.
And I'm with the Trump campaign also in New York. Trump has already changed the rules of politics, but will it be enough to make him commander-in-chief?
And you're not allowed actually to go inside the party, are you?
That's right, Brent. I mean, this applies to Deutsche Welle, but also to an awful lot of other foreign media who applied for accreditation. We've been denied access to the actual room where the party is taking place. So that's in the Hilton Hotel behind me here in Midtown Manhattan. And what you can't see, well, you can see quite a few satellite vans just behind me. And the result is that you have huge numbers of correspondents all set up here outside. We're every now and again scurrying in there to talk to people, get a sense of the mood, but we can't get actually inside that room. And I think this does tell us, perhaps something about Donald Trump's attitude to the media in general. There are also one or two U.S. journalists who he's blocked, seemingly targeting them as people he's not particularly keen on. But we also wonder what this means about Donald Trump, what kind of a president he would be, whether a Donald Trump presidency would be a little bit less open to the eyes of the outside world, which we as Deutsche Welle, of course, think is hugely important, particularly here in the United States, a country that has such an enormous impact on the rest of the world.
Well, I think you're being very mild, too, in your assessment there, considering you're not allowed to go into the hotel where the party is taking place. Were you given a reason, Richard, when you were not given the accreditation?
So we're going to have no problems there, Brent, as the night moves on.
Well, we know you will make the best of a not very good situation there, Richard Walker, outside the Trump headquarters, I should say, the party at that hotel in New York. All right, let's take it over now to Ines Pohl. She is with a political party that is very inviting. You had no problems getting into the party, did you, Ines?
No, not at all. And this really also reflects on this whole year. The same way as Richard said, it was always really easy. Donald Trump found other ways, really, to use media without working with us, but by using Twitter and kind of boycotting the traditional ways to work together.
All right. Yeah, that was 48 hours ago, and now we're going to fast forward to the present. I'm joined now by our fearless and tireless U.S. correspondents, Ines Pohl and Richard Walker. They are both back in Washington, D.C. now. Good afternoon, good evening to both of you. Ines, I'll start with you. When you look at that video and see how things were just 2 days ago, and you see how things are now, and realize so many people were surprised. Was the reporting, the journalism that we all did, was it fundamentally flawed?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, it's democracy, and I wonder how many people wish they could, move the time back as you just did. But, I mean, the majority has spoken. Donald Trump has a clear win. He has more than 6 million votes on his side. So this is what came out of this night. I think what all of us learned, there is no polls to be trusted than only the one on election day. And that's probably something we should keep in mind when we speculate about election results which are to come, for example, in Germany next year when we elect the next Chancellor of Germany.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Lessons to take moving forward. Richard, what about you? What would you say, looking back now, what's the biggest takeaway for reporters who witnessed history?
Yeah, well, I think perhaps what you're referring to is that there is a bit of a sense of course, sorry, I've got a bit of an echo on my earpiece here. I'm just going to have to remove this. There is obviously a bit of a problem here in Washington, D.C., where I just looked up the figures. 93% of the people living here voted for Hillary Clinton. So there is something of a bubble effect in the national reporters who are based here in Washington, D.C. I think a lot of media outlets, including ourselves, did make an effort to get out into the country. Of course, over the last few weeks, as you know very well, Brent, we were on our road trip from the West Coast to the East, right into the heart of America to see what was going on. We met a lot of people who are the people who turned out for Donald Trump, who are the people who gave him that victory. But I think also as we reflect on what happened in this election, we shouldn't just reflect on Donald Trump's victory. We should look at Hillary Clinton's defeat. Now, if you look at the numbers, the actual electoral college, the electoral vote numbers, rather, the popular vote, Hillary Clinton slightly beat Donald Trump, in fact. And of course, the vagaries of the electoral system here, that meant that she still lost. But she got 6 million fewer votes than Barack Obama did 4 years ago. And that's despite a population that has grown by almost 10 million in that time. So I think that is an overlooked story why Hillary Clinton failed to mobilize the supporters who came out for Barack Obama. Yeah,
that's an excellent point, Richard. Ines, what can you want to add to that? This notion that the blame, if you want to lay blame, or the failures that we saw on Tuesday night, you can point the finger at both candidates. And Hillary Clinton, she just she wasn't able to get out the vote that she needed.
Absolutely right. And as Richard just said, I mean, we really traveled this country and we spoke to so many people who just feel left behind. And I think this election, this result is reflecting exactly that. Because, I mean, Donald Trump, first of all, is an outsider. He's not part of the political establishment. I mean, people put hopes in him, which he will never, ever be able to fulfill. But I think the biggest motivation in this election was to vote for someone who is not part of the political establishment, because many people have the feeling they are not represented by it. And this also is something which is really reflecting not only the situation here in the United States, but all over Europe as well.
Well, Ines, what about the situation for women? I mean, we were talking about electing the first woman president of the United States, and now it's almost as if that didn't even happen.
Yes and no. I actually stood in the hotel where Hillary Clinton gave her concession speech last night, and I have to say it was really a fantastic speech. Not only because the way she accepted the vote of the people, the way she really accepted the rules of democracy, but also the way she kept encouraging women. She kept encouraging young girls to not give up and to not take this result as a defeat. She really empowered the people in the room, and I think the whole Democratic Party, and maybe even far beyond, to keep fighting for women's rights, to keep fighting for equality. So for me, that was really one of the biggest moments, I think. And when she left the stage, where she really kept her acts together, and then she hugged her supporters, and you saw really tears running down her cheeks. You could feel, that was her lifelong dream, and she will keep fighting for that. And I think she is a very good example to just not give in. It wasn't the right time. She wasn't the right candidate, but she most definitely encouraged women to try to, to gain power and to shape society and the world, after all.
Richard, let me ask you about Barack Obama's legacy. You and I, we were here in Berlin when he was giving his speech in 2008, and it was like JFK II had arrived. There was so much expectation in this man. Is his legacy now about to be torn to shreds by President Trump?
Well, I think that was what inevitably sort of struck you watching the two men at their meeting at the White House just earlier on. What you had there was Barack Obama trying to be as nice as he possibly could in front of the cameras to a man who, in his campaign, ran against Barack Obama just as much as he ran against Hillary Clinton. And it is absolutely the case that Barack Obama's legacy is now at stake, particularly, domestic reforms like Obamacare, his health care reform. Donald Trump has said that he's going to repeal it and replace it with something else. We don't know what that something else is going to be yet. We'll have to see, obviously, in the months ahead. But Donald Trump very openly saying that he wants to undo that. And I think internationally there will be an enormous amount of concern also about what Donald Trump is going to do about Barack Obama's kind of top two diplomatic achievements, the Iran deal and the Paris Climate Agreement. We'll be watching that very closely.
All right. Our fearless correspondents, Richard Walker and Ines Pohl there. Witnesses to history for us this week. To both of you, thank you very much, and glad you were able to get some sleep. You have our permission to sleep in tomorrow as well. Thank you very much.